part of these before, but I know you're aware of it. So if you have any additional questions for anybody about where we are or what we're recommending, because I can say that the staff at this point is recommending that we look at dissolution of the WCA, and we believe it's still dysfunction, and we can adequately or more than adequately address any of the benefits that having the WCA in place has. We can do that through these other means. And again, if staff, if Mary or Daniel want to add anything or any questions that the board has. Well, the timeline, what we right. So at the March board meeting, here we are. We update the board, including the new members on background and information previously provided. Right into this, we had assumed that the amended and restated JPA have been approved and done. But I think based on what Daniel brought forward here, that we can parallel that with this decision-making process without any significant disruption or concern. But between March and June, our next regular meeting on June 15th, if there was any additional questions or information or needed, we would update that and provide that. We need to begin working with the city of Richmond on the new operating agreement. And with or without the WCA, what gets important in there, and why we really would hope for a decision on this at the June meeting, is how we negotiate what those agreements look like are different if the Webb County agency's in existence or not, because those assets, we have to figure out, who owns them and how we share those costs. If the WCA does exist, then we aren't working with those assets, it's perfectly involved with the operating agreements. But some of the basics is going to take a little time for Daniel and his team to come up to speed on the details. Mary's quite aware of them, but work together and bring them up to speed. We need to talk about hiring a consultant, how we go through that process, lay out a term sheet that we can identify what agreements have to be renegotiated and when. So there's plenty of work that staff can do between now and June that will still be quite productive regardless of the decision. But after June, then we start, really prepping a time frame, because we need to start either addressing these ownership issues or recognizing that the WCA is going to continue, and therefore it starts to impact our ability to meet that December of 2024 deadline. So that would give us essentially a year and a half to negotiate all the agreements. But if we delay it much past then, I think it would be very difficult for us to finalize all those in time, and then we'd end up having to try to create some temporary measures or temporary agreements, or Richmond would have to create a temporary process where we say, hey, take this sludge and treat it. We don't know how much we're going to charge you, so we're on hold and we'll send you a bill later. You don't want to do that. You want to have time for agreement. So what we'd be asking for was, a decision one way or the other in June, so that we know which direction we can move. But between now and June, we can still make a lot of progress and work together. So I think that schedule is still consistent, hasn't changed, even with the amended and restated JPA status. I think that can get worked out. The most important point is, and I think the risk of being redundant is that it just illustrates why we need to make sure we give ourselves some time, because anything can happen. It can delay us, and we don't be up against that. So that June.
So in June, we make a decision, and then we can put together in my head. So in my head, I'm looking at it in June, make whatever decision, then we can work backward from December 24. December 24 is fine. From there to July. Right?
Yep, those-
To get solution. Part of this JPA and I've heard it before. So I haven't heard it all before. Get. You fill a letter of the means, but we have. Not that you're getting one. That was also. Yeah, let's stop it forward. But I think the only year. Summarize something. We're potentially with JPA. JPA to just MOUs.
correct,
Right, soon, high something. No JPA, all the work to be done is to be done through MOUs.
correct. And the alternative is we retain the WCA, then we have this agency that manages that small subset of facilities. And then each of the two member agencies still have a whole series of MOUs that need to be in place for all the other operating, which is really the bulk, and majority of the connection and the operations of the two facilities. So either way, we're going to be renegotiating all this other agreements. So that timeline that we're talking about, June forward, really is the same regardless of if the WCA is dissolved or not dissolved. To negotiate those agreements. It's just what are we negotiating? We add in basically. Now we have to figure out, how to distribute real property assets and so, and that becomes part of the operating agreements. Whereas right now, essentially the operating agreement is the JPA and the agreement with the facility and the discharge example. So the time frame is similar, but it's what we're negotiating and the different pieces change. So that's why we need that decision, because we can't do both at the same time.
Percentage going, how much of the work is done by KPA?
How much is work between the two agencies? Very little. The assets that the WCA own and operated through the member agency is the dethorification facility and the transmission line from that confluent structure from that out to the district points, and that's it. That's the entire purview. Everything else at the Richmond treatment plant or wastewater treatment plant is strictly under the control of member agencies. And that's where then all these other agreements that we do with sludge and etc. is really all outside of the SBA. So the purpose initially was, that joint outfall, the construction and the bonding and all of that, and then it continued. And that's why we call the question to say, well, let's look at this. Is it a way to, create operational efficiency, reduce the administrative burden and the cost of the ratepayers to manage an extra agency, and can we do that without jeopardizing or limiting transparency and openness to the public, et cetera? And that's what I think exactly we're talking about. That and permit is the big issue. We strongly believe that we can do that. And actually, I think make it more open to the public.
Actually, my question is what percentage
What percentage of the work you asking the overall operations of the gold treatment plant and the West County of all those operations, what percentage of the work is the WCA? Good. Well, Aaron just left, but I'll look at you, Mary. I don't know, 5%. We just did the FBS facility, the transmission line, and the buoys. And then we've got these two treatment plants and collection systems and everything else we operate. What the WCA purchase can be more than 5%.
Well, you guys do a lot of portion of it, so. I mean, I just, the management portion of it, where Richmond doesn't do that, so. Because you guys do payment, for the joint health, things like that, so when I look at the agency as a whole, I mean, I don't look at just at the shared facilities. And I think that's what, I don't know if I should address this mayor or director. So, and when I look at that, to me, it's more than 5%.
But I don't know, we maybe it out the question again, Director, maybe I'm answering a different question. You want to, yeah,
Okay, okay, I see. I guess the question would be, how much of the work do we share that wouldn't be done if we separate?
so I think, Mary, what is it, not how much work does it take to manage the JDA or what work we manage for Richmond? That's like 95%, 5% is what managing the JDA, but all the aspects of the infrastructure is managed by the two agencies compared to the amount of assets that are managed by the JDA. That difference, and that's where I was saying.
Yeah.
The transmission line including can't be more than 5% of the total assets that are being managed by both agencies. It might even be less than that.
I would find.
Aaron, we agree with that.
Yes.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the question? Yeah, we get the third thing to see if of all the assets we manage, the two treatment plants, all the systems, pipes, et cetera, what percentage of that pie is owned and operated by West County agency? And what we're saying is 5%.
Yeah. I think that's a good estimate. Okay, so that 5% requires management. And that, would that management requirement be reduced with dissolution? I know it would be divided.
Yes, it would be, because to do almost all of the actions that we do here at the West County Agency, I know the city of Richmond, for example, have to go back to each and every one of them to get their budget authorization to review that process. We would still go to the West County Wastewater Board to get a contract, say, to do the ACE and AF navigation work. That would still happen, but it would happen in those agencies at meetings that are already in existence, and meetings that are already being administered. This agency to administer and to set up and do these meetings are all done separately and in addition to everything else that's happening in both agencies, solely for the purpose of managing that small subset of infrastructure that's shared. And so by just having that under operating agreement, Richmond has already offered the SPS facility to continue to operate the SPS facility with or without the JDA. So there's no additional burden or effort that happens on the part of the city of Richmond if the JDA goes away, rather than how we pay for and share those costs just happen through those operating agreements, as opposed to having to go through a whole separate body. And it is a rather cumbersome way to manage a small set of assets like that, with the one important and outstanding issue that is the permit. And, did we need to keep that as a joint permit and have the joint powers authority in there? And that answer is clearly no, we don't need to. We can have a joint permit without the West County agency being party to the permit. And then that'll protect Richmond from having to open that up to a whole new set of possible regulations with the water board instead of just renegotiating existing joint permit.
So then I guess my final question is, it was $72,000 that,
Yeah, rough estimate.
correct, okay, so then that $72,000 would be a savings to,
That would be a savings to West County Waste. And it's just that, it's difficult to estimate it exactly. We didn't try to, because some of it, like you said, the certain aspects of the management, we can do it anyway. The way that reflect is what's the part that is just extra, that's just happening because we have to just wholly all of the management of the asset and the day-to-day work happening with both the Richmond and West County wastewater, none of that is included in that. Try to just pull that out and they put the cost, just to run, this agency, set up these meetings and do this. And that would be a cost savings, but that by itself is really probably not the significant part. It's more the administrative effort that has to happen and the time that it would take away, for example, if Richmond were, and there'd be a cost and a time there for the transfer of all those records, onto the website and, it's still a separate agency, so we have to have separate public records. We have to keep on our own files here at the council, but the agency, kind of wastewater, all of that would go away at that extra because it's going to be the two agencies that are elected and operating through these operating agreements and MOU, which we are also doing with the bulk of our interaction. So it's trying to take this subset and folding it into. So what it would do is decrease that burden and that distraction for staff and how people focus on the operation.
So to rephrase, there would be a $70 savings from the agency and it would streamline the process for both agencies.
Yes, it would, and it would, because the JDA conflict of Richmond would take over administration in January 2025, it would then be a savings and administrative burden for Richmond, not to. Yeah, because then the reducing your
I just wanted to say that even though from June to December, June 2023 to December 2024, sounds like enough time, it's actually very different. It's very short time to achieve everything that we need to achieve by then. So it's very important, at least from the City of Richmond staff, to have a direction in the next meeting either way. I expect that you're leaning to resolve.
Well, I can take that from our perspective and everything we've done and gone through it. And Mayor Martinez asked a lot of questions and really trying to make sure that I think your biggest concern that I understood what you were saying was that we can maintain transparency, that the public know what we're doing, and with the permit, are impose any additional liability. I think we've answered those questions, and I think yes, it would be beneficial from the standpoint of just increasing government efficiency without decreasing public transparency. And I think we can make an effort to increase public transparency.
And the other part that kind of, from our perspective in the City of Richmond, is that our operation contract for the wastewater treatment plant ends in 2027. So the process will start, and we're going to start sometime earlier in 2025. We kind of aligns with everything we do right now, all the assets that we may have to administer will go into that new contract. So what we do right now is going to affect our operation for many, many years now.
So, like Daniel said, it's going to take a significant amount of time. I know we came in and met with him. We brought a lot of information to in a short period of time that he hadn't really been aware of in some cases, and understandably so. And I was a little more aggressive than I typically am, but I'm really impressed at this point. We need to look at this being a bigger on this appropriate prevention. So it's all in the spirit of trying to make him aware of what's happening so that he can focus on it as needed.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? Good. We have our charge.
Yeah. And that's all we were looking for today, is just to make sure that we answered any additional questions. And if there were any further questions, or anything that you wanted us to follow up and bring back additional information in June, then take a look at that. But otherwise, I think that, if there are, that we would bring this back in June and we'll make a recommendation, both confirm with Richard staff. I don't know, Daniel, if you guys are ready to say what position that you from staff perspective at Richard would recommend or support. Mary's expressed her purpose.
I follow previously.
So we'll come in June and make sure that if we haven't changed our mind or found anything on different, and then hopefully have a joint recommendation from staff. From both agencies, make sure that we're on the same page and in agreement. So if we aren't, then I think we need to talk about that. Or I believe that we're going to be in the same.
Next, I don't know.
If you know, if there's anyone who could make the house, the time.
I just wanted to let you know, say to the board, the directors, is that we, obviously, we're having problems with the technical, the screen's been frozen for 10 or 15 minutes. Apparently, the whole internet system is having problems. So, I understand that we are still recording, the audio, but anyway, it's something.
It may not be right,
So
but it may not be right.
Yeah, he's got that forceful appearance, you know.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. For that.
like a children's book, FEMA's very bad week.
So, in no. Let's move to the next one. Which is this one. Yeah. The piece with good, not great, the piece of favorite falling down.
The agenda, so we're gonna use the adjourn at 10:22 a.m. The next meeting date is June 15th.
Not a big thing right now. Oh, yeah. The next week. So we need to have- Now, we can be our. Okay. And so we're. Take off one. Everybody. Okay.
Yes.
Are you sure you can chase it on?
Say that. Yeah, I'm doing it.
I think we are back in session, 10:32. Madam.
Director Almond.
Here.
Director Martinez.
Here.
Director Tejeda.
Here.
And thank you so much. We received any comments on the agenda?
We have received no written comments. If there's anyone in attendance this morning who has made. Seeing none.
Thank you. With that. Work. We adjourn.
Okay, thank you. The first item on the agenda is emergency repair and replacement contract with Global Diving Salvage. Adopt the resolution declaring an emergency to repair and replacement work by the county agency, Aton 1-2, and authorize the nation to execute contract with Global Diving Salvage for the immediate repair, replacement, and for salvage based on Rules 1 and 2 in an amount not to exceed $325,000. I'm going to turn it over to Aaron Weiner, our water quality.
Resource Recovery Department Manager.
Take it away, Aaron.
Okay, thank you. Well, don't need the microphone. So, as is outlined in your packet, and I think we talked about this a little bit before at our most recent meeting, in late 2021, we entered into a contract to contract with Global Diving to repair WPA. Make sure I got the numbers right. And to replace WPA marker. So if you could pull up that first picture of Kiva for me, please, the schematic, and we're just going to show the outfall, which I know both have seen before, but it gives you an idea of the assets that we're talking about. So what you can see is the red line there, and it runs from the West County treatment plant up on the top, all the way down to the bottom, and then you can see the outfall of the left there from the point of discharge of the Richmond wastewater treatment facility. So there are two marker buoys, WPA and WCA, WPA1, WPA2, that are along that outfall, that red line that runs parallel to the bottom there. Number 2 is just toward the end of the outfall out of the bay, and it actually demarks the deep water shipping channel. And that buoy also has a radar beacon on it. And then inland more, not inland, but closer to land is WPA 2. And so as I started to mention, we entered into the contract in late 21. October, WPA 2 was replaced with a brand new buoy, and WPA 1 was repaired. And so the whole system was put back together as it should be. And I think it's important to note that at that point, the buoys were original equipment. They were 30 or 40 years old. So that's what necessitated this work. So the work was completed in October. Unfortunately, later in about a month later, and Lakeem, if you go to that next picture, it'll show the new buoy. About a month later, we got an email from a Global Diving Salvage folks letting us know that they had received communication from, an associate or a partner of theirs, that the buoy had been damaged. So this is the new buoy after it had been put in place. And if you don't mind looking up, go to the next one, shows the damaged buoy. So they emailed us and let us know that our 2-month-old buoy had been damaged. So we authorized them to mobilize and go out and do an inspection. There you can see the damage. And it was about a month later, I think it was right around the 1st of February, they got out to the site and that buoy is no longer there. So what we think happened was it probably got hit again. And the boat Global Diving and Salvage state that it's probably still tethered to the anchor block out there that keeps it from moving around, but we're not sure. And we won't be sure until they're able to get out there and do a dive. They're going to dive and see what's on the bottom and see if they can take that buoy. So as of this morning, they're targeting the window next week to go out. We will authorize them to go out. We need information on what could on. So the buoy there drifted away, is gone. So we're working it out in the absence of information to let you do the dive next week. So that's that's the reason for the meeting today. So we asked Global Diving and Salvage for a proposal for the work, which they provided us, I think was a 5-stage or 5-phase proposal. The first phase, obviously, to go out there, do the dive and figure out exactly what to work on. The total amount of their proposal is $220,000. They think they can do the work for that. And you see in your packet, the phases and all the work that's done that is required. But we've added $30,000 to that as contingency because we just don't know the condition of the buoy and how much repair and do fabrication. So that brings me around to $250,000. And then if that buoy is no longer there, we're going to need to order a new buoy to have that procured and fabricated. So we've added $75,000 for that possibility. So the total amount we're asking is not to exceed $320,000. We think it'll be less than that. It depends on what information comes about when they do the dive. And I will say that there is some fluidity here because if that buoy is not on the bottom, then there is a mobilization fee in their proposal that won't be required because they won't need to go out and pull up and get a barge up there and do all that. So I hope that's kind of clear on where we stand on what we're asking for. But again, the point is that we're working in an absence of information on and so that's why the wide range of the ask of price right now that we can't really move down any better. So
if I could add two points to what Aaron mentioned. One is, I think that not to exceed, the contract is a time and material, so that we'll only do the work that's necessary, but we don't know all the work that's necessary because we haven't gotten down there to be able to look at it. And what creates an emergency is the amount of time that it would take to be able to bid this out and to get that done. We didn't, enter into contract with the existing vendor, and they haven't been able to get out and get back as effectively because of weather conditions. This isn't like, we're going to go down to the Hilltop Mall and take a look, see what the damage is to the tree that fell across the road. It's out there in the bay, underwater, and currents and turbidity and everything else from all these storms. It's dangerous work. So they really haven't been able to access it as quickly as we might like. So as soon as we have that window, we get in there and look at it, and as Aaron said, they know what the problem is, we'll address it. The good news is the buoy that still is there and is damaged because it's brand new. It can be fixed, fresh, how they
yeah.
The one is
The other piece of this that I didn't mention is obviously there's because the buoys are there to warn of the presence of the diffuser of the alcohol in the bottom of the ski bag. So you've got risk to shipping traffic, and you have risk to our, to the West County agency asset. So, yes.
The here
Okay, a couple of questions. On the map, you didn't really show us where the ways are. You show us the. You show us the alcohol line, but you don't show us where the ways. Right. Okay.
Trying to explain it clearly, I didn't do a good job. So basically, the WCA one is out here, because this is where the deep water channel is, where you have the shipping traffic start. So WCA one would be out here, and WCA two would probably be in that area. Right about in the middle.
And there's one that's completely missing.
It's number one, the demarc the water channel out toward the end, that is, yeah.
Okay, so I noticed that the Chevron facility is on the other side of that.
This is their dock.
Right.
Transfer.
So it seems that their ship would be probably the one most likely to traverse the alcohol line.
It's the shipping channel, it's the main channel, it goes up that direction. And if it were one of the Chevron, tankers that come in there, we would probably likely have been notified by them of the damage. And more likely, this happened at night, and it's the barges that come down, standing ground barges and all those bulk carriers like that. So that's it, there's less traffic out there. They run pretty mild. And the damage to it significantly under this isn't somebody so 5 miles display of it would be exactly like you said, a tanker or Chevron, one of your barges, and not knowing, I think probably more like it barge tankers. Those guys are operating way more safely, especially than the barges that can use the current kind of yachts of water there. Barges, big transit all the time.
Yeah, also mentioned that, in the discussions with Global Diving itself, they reached out to the Coast Guard because they have radar, have all these. I can't remember the actual name of the system, it's that for that the Avalon movie. There's an acronym in there. My point is that we reached out to the Coast Guard, Global Diving reached out to the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard told us that unless you can narrow it down, to a 6 hour window, 2 weeks isn't helping you. They don't have the resources to go and do the research, over a 2 week span. We couldn't narrow it down any closer than 2 weeks. So they needed to do their automation to help us.
Yeah. Their vessel traffic's difficult. They monitor all of the shipping traffic coming in and out of the bay, and who has to have pilots, et cetera. So they often know the pilot and they're aware of the vessel coming in and out. So we knew it happened within a certain time window. They could tell you, okay, these are the 6 or 7 large vessels that pass the area in that window, but not knowing the window, it doesn't really narrow it down. There's just too many vessels. Other than a camera, never be gone.
We have asked them, as they're going through this process and we're looking at this, we have asked them to see if the brainstorm, if there's anything that they come up with, because of, these recent problems to improve the, if there's a system, they can communicate to us what's going on. I don't know. Camera seem like, maybe it's a vibration sensor, something like that, and we could kind of work data and what we're kind of being a little bit high with guys, but we could ask them to look at those things. One other thing that I did want to mention that your staff was, well, the WPA 2 is the one in it's also closer to inshore, it's all of the interventions
And they believe that it's because of the tides and the surf and the things that we had. So, they think that it probably went over and there's a solar array on top that basically powers the beacon, so there's a light at night and that's not what it's flooded, so that's been damaged. So both of the movies need work and again, we talked about the critical importance of this. So. And that's really what we're here for and all I have, Mr.
It's the AI,
Yeah.
but again, they said that it's hard unless you try to this, but it said it's required. Very much bigger thing. Then
In the water,
you can. So it's a.
The work that we did, that was finished in October was the first, repair replacement.
But
We did, well, no, we did repair to the number of lines. To replace one and pretty major repairs to the other.
there's urgency to change this done. So I. Okay. Okay.
Right. We love to. Place, so you put track these things, so especially with sort of amount of cost. Well, a lot of budget. If I can answer that, so WPA one, which is the one adjacent outside and to the shipping channel, has a radar beacon on it, so ships are supposed to be able to see it by radar, whether So again, what we're looking at is what addition we can do. Is there a camera system, something that we can connect it, or radio, whatever that may be. But it does have that system, but still somebody visits it somehow. And how long has it was out there? Well, probably since that was constructed in the 80s or late 70s.
There's just a bunch of yahoos that, they slam into it, and it's kind of like a hit and run on the car. I mean, if they can get away with it, they're gonna get away with it. And, it's frustrating because when Aaron called me and I said, wait a minute, don't hurt me. It's like, they're not gonna report it if they don't, if someone smashes into your car, they'll see them, see it. Most odds are this is extremely honest person, which unfortunately, 50% of people are, keep going. I think I went too many FBI films because I see, turn the traffic cams with this, I live there somewhere, we can, check the Coast Guard, and it's like, we have to have like a stick or we. All this stuff, so, or if I needed what to, spend, $300,000 or this emergency justification. Then you just come to a black week from the FBI, it's like, yeah, I did, but now we gotta fix this. So I would like to defer Director / Mayor Martinez and council members / Director Cepeda that we do have budget for this project, and it will be going to City Council on April 4th as an emergency justification resolution. So I have everything joined with, but we've been in touch the whole time during the coffee. Nobody called me. I'm like, all right, bottom line, what's going to happen? Just give me a ballpark.
Yeah.
And we do not have to check the fund balance to do this. We have money kind of in our capital project budget. One of our projects came in under budget, so we can take from that project and just transfer. So we're good.
Perfect. And I think it excited to it. The way that.
You won't see much at night too, the work of art, for example, you probably wouldn't tell the markings or who it was. The Florida Festival Circuit was the dude truck side, one of the guys up that, trading people that read it. They'd be more likely to report something. But I think it's probably
Let's see who can hit
It's really easy to see, and so I was like, yeah. So,
Yes.
Well, I want to mention that, I'm to, there's one small thing over there. But I'm sorry, we can be correct, second thought. For public contract, that's section 2203, that should be 22050. So whatever the, I can put it out, we can change.
Right, it's 220. Should be 22.
It should be 2203, and it should be 220.
So,
Any, two?
and the other. It says in under the,
That one, correct, that's for the town. Level two.
So this motion be,
oh, it says 2200. So it's all. It should say 220. Okay, so with the noted correction, you are going to move to the. Yes. Declaring the emergency for the repair and replacement work. of the SBA. ATO 41 and 2. Yes, we keep contact. We do repair, replacement, and. ATO 41 and 2. and These. Great. Got all that? Then we're going to days, are the beginning, for the 4 comments and the call for public comments on. Well,
Sure. We have received no comment. Hearing none, we have no public comment.
perfect. Thank you.
Close the item, please poll. Director Alvarado,
Yes.
Director Martinez,
Yes.
Director Zeta,
Yes.
and Chair.
Yes. Motion passed.
Next item is item number 2, WCA elections, conducted election for the chair of the Webb County Agency Board of Directors for the remainder of the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Now we'll turn it over to, Mike Garrett to explain this.
Yeah. Previous chair. So the great senior. No longer on the meeting. So. Chair, we need to. Chair. Interest teachers need to eliminate.
The knowledge should be, I think, what you all are familiar with, nomination, the nomination accepted, then seconded, and then, any other nomination. Standard process.
Yes, we generally have a major there, from one major to the vice chair will be.
Hold on,
so long was the last term that they. Does it mean that for Richmond to serve the term or?
No,
in your fiscal year, we need a chair, for the year, fiscal year, and, that's.
and then we'll get into July.
Okay, so that.
Yeah. So. Yes.
Well, I nominate vice chair.
If we, take that action, then we need to also vote on vice chair to replace that.
Okay. So do we take first time?
If the board would like.
Okay.
Vice
Okay, so.
chair. So do the vote on a chair and a vice chair again at the next meeting. So it might be streamlined, efficient. They like that, it might be streamlined, efficient to pick a officer who does already position, so we can vote rather than do knowing that the action will come from a new chair and vice chair. at the meeting.
Well, then, we can't,
So did you hear?
we can't do chair, we can't do chair, so.
Not that you can't, not that you can't, just that it would be more efficient if you don't take a individual who already has an officer position. You're currently vice chair. So if we elect, if the board elects you as chair, then we then need to backfill the vice chair position. The item will need to come to the board for the new chair and vice chair at the next meeting. So I just wanted to say that duplication may be more efficient if the board would like to consider the number who's not already an officer.
So to make it more efficient, it's just for 2 months of
Right.
time.
Just to the end of fiscal year?
Yeah,
Oh,
we cannot, you'll be chair and vice chair because we can't vote on vice chair until next meeting. So, Mr. Mayor, we elect you chair. This is then I'll make a nomination to make the process. happen.
Yeah, yeah,
Do it.
Right, so I would, if we could withdraw the,
yes, yeah.
You made a motion. It's a motion to have vice.
director.
So, yeah,
So. The. There. We have. Public.
you said I made a motion to make it, what do we? Yeah.
sure, see if that's the nomination.
I looked at the motion.
Director Barbara,
Yeah.
Director
Yeah.
Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see something?
This meeting is adjourned at 10:59. The next, board meeting will be 9 a.m.